Good afternoon, and thanks for tuning in to our Remind 101 Hangout today to talk about crowdfunding. I'm Clara Galan, Marketing Manager for Remind 101 and former middle school teacher, and I'm joined here today by Brett Kopp, co-founder of Remind 101, James Walter Doyle, Director of Teacher Engagement for Donors Choose and former high school teacher, Hannah Peter, a Program Associate for Donors Choose and former pre-K teacher. So we're here to dive into the nitty-gritty of crowdfunding and learn how it can be used in the classroom to fund all of the classroom projects of your wildest dreams. If you have any questions during this hangout, you can tweet us all of your questions at Remind101 using the hashtag #FundMyClass. And we'll get those answered as best we can. So we'll be also discussing some of your questions on air with Brett, Walter, and Hannah. So welcome. Walter and Brett and Hannah, would you guys briefly introduce yourselves?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Brett Kopp. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Remind 101. Thanks for having me here. I started the company about 2.5 years ago with the premise of making it really safe and easy for teachers to communicate with students and parents on a mobile phone. And now we have wonderful employees and millions of teachers, students, and parents around the U.S. and Canada using the product. So I'm really excited about this today.
My name is Hannah, and I work on partnerships and business development at DonorsChoose.org. And my colleague Walter is having a little bit of a hard time dialing in, so hopefully he'll be able to join us shortly. But as Claire mentioned, I was a preschool teacher and absolutely love working with my kiddos, but wanted to jump into the ed space on a broader scale and support teachers to get the materials they need in their classroom.
Cool. Thanks, Hannah. So let's kick off with some teachers might not be familiar with what is crowdfunding. So Hannah, could you answer that a little bit for us? Like, how would you describe crowdfunding?
Yeah, that's a great question. So funding is an expansive term and is generally used when there is a group of teachers for one certain item or project or experience. So the public will come together to fund an initiative. Project, as I said, can range from anything from personal needs to funds to start an invention or start a new start anything really. At DonorsChoose.org, we're a crowdfunding platform for teachers, specifically public school teachers, and so the crowd that we appeal to is the public, and we try to connect them into public schools to support teachers on the projects, the needs they identify in their classroom.
Yeah, and just going off of that too, crowdfunding is such a great way for teachers to fund their classroom projects. I know it can be used in different businesses, but for the classroom, it's awesome because you can reach out beyond your school community and find ways to fund classroom projects that you might not have been able to do beforehand. So Hannah, can you tell us a little bit of specifics of how crowdfunding can be used in the classroom?
So on DonorsChoose.org, teachers can use crowdfunding to get what we call enhancement items for their classroom, so things that go above and beyond the basic materials they need in their classroom, as well as essential materials for their classroom. So on DonorsChoose.org, teachers organically identify what are the materials or the experiences they think their students most need, and then they post a project. See anything on our site ranging from because students need pencils to write, to 3D printers because teachers know that this is the future of technology and they want their students to have access to that as well. So we will see a total range of things on DonorsChoose.org, but teachers can use it both for those essential and those enhancement projects. And I see I am joined by my wonderful colleague, Walter, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so sorry for the delay and technology problems there. I work at Donors Choose as the National Director of Teacher Engagement. So I work on all of our campaigns, on our communications for teachers, and anything that really kind of cultivates them and allows them to be advocates for their students.
So welcome, Walter. And I know that you've used crowdfunding in your own classroom. Is that right? I read an article recently about you on the Donors Choose website. So are there any specific strategies or tips that you could share with teachers today about crowdfunding their classroom projects?
Yeah, definitely. I think the key is not approaching it as a way of just asking for money, but more about a way of actually taking an active role in our education in the country and understanding that by putting these resources into a teacher's hands, you're actually creating student impact. You're moving that needle for a student's success. And when a donor hears that, or a potential donor rather, it makes more sense to them to actually open their wallet and give, because it's not just about the money, it's about the actual long-term effects So anytime I was reaching out to someone that was unfamiliar with Donors Choose or crowdfunding, I would basically just say, like, imagine a classroom that you attended without chairs, without books, without pencils, without pens. That's really what I'm asking you for. I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for an opportunity to give my students an equal fighting chance.
That's great. And yeah, go ahead, Hannah.
I'll just piggyback on that with some other tips that we have seen in our office, which is that really projects with a smaller price tag tend to get funded more quickly on our site. So certainly still have those big dreams for your students, but see if there's ways that you can break those down into smaller projects. People feel like they're going to have a bigger impact on you, your students, and your classroom. And I think that I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but it's really great to engage your network in your crowdfunding. And so I think Remind 101 could be a huge resource in this. It's really great to engage your friends, your family, students' families, businesses in your neighborhood, and just really get them excited about the project, because as Walter was saying, like, these projects really move the needles for students and as such communities. Equally sharing it out on your social media, so figuring out how it is you can get the message out there as broadly as possible and get people excited to be welcomed into your classroom and to support your students. If you look at our website, you'll see that we have everything laid out with a photo and then a title and some blurb about your classroom, about your project, about the impact. Those photos fun, really gets people excited. It's clear your personality if you include a catchy title or a fun photo. Then on the partnership side, I would just really recommend checking out, especially on Donors Choose, a funding opportunity page, which lays out all of our corporate and foundation opportunities. And so these are folks who might be doing a matching offer or might want to support a certain type of project. Always great to check there before you post your project and just see kind of how you can tailor it to meet some of those funding opportunities and see support from the community at large. So that was a laundry list of ideas, but just a great place to get started as you're thinking about how to have a successful project and get those materials that you and your students most need.
Awesome. Thank you for those great strategies, Walter and Hannah. So kind of going off of using like a megaphone to get your campaign out there. Yeah, I heard you talk a little bit about using social media, but also Remind 101. So let's talk a little bit about what Remind 101 is and how it can help with your crowdfunding strategies.
Sure. I can start with that, and then I'll actually pass it back to Clara for the crowdfunding strategies, because she's the former teacher and the expert. So Remind 101 is a website and a mobile app that makes it incredibly simple for teachers to communicate with their students and parents. And so when we started this company, we spoke to hundreds of teachers across the country and learned that there was a lot of efficiency issues with them trying to send messages to their students and parents. And so we built this very simple product where a teacher can sign up on the website or the mobile apps on both the iPhone and the Android App Store. In less than 60 seconds, type a message like "don't forget to study," or "parents turn in your permission slips," or "great job in your presentations." And when they hit send, it distributes as a text message. So it's very simple, and it's safe because the teacher never sees a student's number and a student never sees a teacher's number. And beyond that, we track a messaging history and make it impossible to delete. Just from a safety perspective. So that's like a very quick brief on what Remind 101 is. And it's free, and it's especially free to teachers, and it's very simple for them to use. So you should be able to sign up and start using it in a matter of seconds. So I'll hand it back to you, Clara, to talk about some funding ideas.
Sure. So just along with Remind 101 and Donors Choose, they're both free services. So it's really powerful to use them together to get the word out there about your classroom projects that you're crowdfunding on Donors Choose. A couple ideas is with one of our features called Attach. You're able to take a photo and send it to all of the people who are enrolled in a class of yours. So you're able to, send to parents, send to donors, updates of where students are in their project. So it's a great way to do that, and it's also a great way to keep everyone in your school community informed about what's going on with your campaign. So if you want to let people know about how much money you've raised towards a specific project, you can go ahead and send a Remind 101 message to them. And it's also great because you can also tweet that out too. So there is an option when you send out your Remind 101 text, you can go ahead and tweet it then from your class Twitter handle or your school Twitter handle. So really kind of like what Hannah was talking about as well, putting all of those strategies together really makes for a powerful campaign. and successful to fund your classroom project. So are there any other strategies that you'd add, Hannah or Walter, just from your own experience?
Yeah, I think oh, go ahead, Hannah. Nope, kick it off, Hannah.
Go for it. It's all you.
I think I've had some of the greatest success, even just by doing emails in the very most traditional format, but targeting those emails around certain times. Even just as recently, I just turned 30, and I dedicated my birthday to my giving page. Even though I'm out of the classroom, I'm still supporting teachers at my former school, and so I kind of thought about different holidays and different events that I know that it would be an appropriate time to approach donors and kind of reach out to them. So that's always been a really great generator of funds and donors and things like that. One thing that I'll add on, and I think Remind 101 and Donors Choose both do, but you can also kind of do outside of our sites, is to really cultivate donors after the donation has already taken place, and think about those next projects you're going to be posting. So sending a thank you as an attach through Remind 101, creating a comment on donorschoose.org. Those are opportunities where donors will feel like they're part of your classroom and connected in a way that actually does play into effect when you post another project and you're looking for another wave of donations. So it's almost like jumping the gun in terms of the way you're fundraising. Even though you've already been funded, you're thinking ahead.
And I'll piggyback on that in terms of other strategic times to be communicating with folks via Remind 101 or via more traditional methods. And one time is the first 7 days your project is live. You get a teacher, friends, and family code, which will double the donation up to $100. And so that's a really great time to really leverage this network and let them know that, hey, you can have double the impact on my classroom and on my students. Another great time is just as your project is coming close to the finish line, so to speak. Something we've seen on our site is that people love to be the person that pushes it over the finish line, just because they want to see those supplies get to you. They want to see your project come to fruition. So I would just add those as 2 other really great strategic times to utilize Remind 101 to get your project to come to life.
Thanks for those additional strategies. I think that's really helpful, like you said, just getting it over to that last amount that you need for your classroom project. So in honor of Teacher Appreciation Month, Remind 101 is giving away a couple Donors Choose gift cards totaling $1,000. We've already given away 2 to some lucky teachers, but we really want to help you kick off your classroom project and be successful. So if you follow us on Facebook at Remind 101, and on Twitter, our handle is at Remind101. You can go ahead and check out those contests and make sure you enter. And also, I just wanted to talk a couple of things about successful stories. So are there any particular stories that really resonated with you, Walter or Hannah, from all the projects that you've seen during your time at Donors Choose?
Hannah, you want to start?
Sure. Recently, well, this is a kind of an embarrassing personal story, but I saw a teacher who was posting projects in Kern County, California, and I was working with one of our partners on projects there, and project came to life, and she was just totally flabbergasted. She was like, I've been teaching for 30 years. I've spent thousands of dollars on my students, and it's because I want them to succeed. And the thought that not only individuals in the community care about me, but that this huge corporate partner is coming in and saying, like, well, these are the materials you need, and we're here, and we want to help you be successful, and we want your students to reach their dreams. She just was I was talking with her on the phone, and she got really choked up because I had actually been so galvanized by her story that I personally donated to her page. And she was like, are you Hannah? And I was like, I am Hannah. And she was like, donated to me. And I was like, I did. I just really was excited by what you were doing. And then here's the embarrassing part. My dad is actually a donorschoose.org donor, and I used my network and told him, hey, like, this teacher is awesome. You should go on and check her out. So he supported her as well, and she was just like, I can't believe it. Like, I don't know you. You have to come for lunch sometime, and it just was really meaningful for me as a donor as well as for her as a teacher to just see that people both in her local community and from afar were coming together saying, you and your students to succeed. So that was a moment that stands out for me in terms of the power of coming together to support teachers and students.
That's great. I can speak to my own classroom. I taught for 7 years up in Harlem, and one of the first things that I did when I was there was start this program called Kids and Culture. And it really just started as like a joke. I was like, oh, I should, see if I can raise some money and take some kids to Mexico because I need a vacation. And it turned into me actually raising enough funds to take 10 students to Mexico. We did this whole curriculum, and it became this kind of part of the school community. And so in that sense, I created its own little organization around it and curriculum every year, and did 2 trips a year and had those trips funded through Donors Choose, and built a really amazing network of both teachers and donors that were affiliated with the program, to the point now where Kids and Culture is in about 5 or 6 different schools around New York. Those teachers are having those projects funded through Donors Choose, and I see teachers traveling to Tanzania with students, to Japan. And these aren't just students that wanted to go on a trip. These are students that have never left the New York tri-state area. They've never experienced a plane ride, a new culture, anything like that. So to be able to find a vehicle as an educator that allowed that opportunity to grow and expand, and now for me to be able to cultivate additional teachers who are interested in that type of curriculum and that kind of experience for their students has been really, really promising.
Thanks for those awesome stories, and I'm sure there are so many more that we'll hear, and there's so many others from the giveaway that we're doing. So I'd love to hear the stories from the 2 future teachers that are the recipients of our $250 gift cards to donorschoose.org, and we'll definitely be featuring those stories on our blog, so blog.remind101.com. And if you go to our blog, you'll also be able to find 4 tips to kickstart your crowdfunding campaign with your classroom, again with Donors Choose. So are there any other final words of advice, Walter or Hannah, that you'd like to give teachers about crowdfunding their campaign?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. I think it's not as scary as it seems. It's not as daunting as it seems. It's there is so many people, going back to Hannah's amazing story, there are so many people out there that do care about teachers and education, and for so long all they were able to do is when they met a teacher say, oh my gosh, thank you so much for what you're doing. And now you as teachers have the opportunity to say, well, you have an actual tangible way to thank me. Here's my Donors Choose page. Here's what I'm doing. Take a step into my classroom, see what I'm trying to accomplish with my students, and if you're inspired by that, drop $1 towards one of my projects. We're really giving the entire community a chance to take part in education versus just shout at the rain and wish for changes to come down the pipeline. So if you've never experienced crowdfunding, if you've never posted a project on our site, you have some great resources here, and both Hannah and I and our whole customer relations team, we'd be happy to walk you through the process and help out your classroom.
I definitely second that. I think when I was teaching, I was a little bit daunted by the idea of asking people for money. That just went against my sensibilities. However, I really, since working at Donors Choose and talking with so many teachers, and also with my friends and family, people want to figure out how to get involved. And what's really powerful about donorschoose.org is that people can give anywhere from $1 to the full project. So when you reach out to someone and share your project with them, excited because this is a way to dive right into the classroom and support something that a teacher has organically identified as what would best serve their students, and they can give however much they feel comfortable giving, and it has a huge impact. And so I think it's just really great to share with people how it is that they can support you and support your students, and give it a whirl. It's much easier than it seems. And especially with all of the great resources like Remind 101, it makes it just easier to get the message out there about your project and to have it come to fruition. So if you can dream it, you can do it.
Yeah, and going along that, I just think using the power of technology really enables all of us to make a huge change in education. And I know that Remind 101 is one of those services that can really reach out and connect the school community. So Brett, do you want to talk a little bit about how Remind 101 has changed some of the teachers that you've spoken with and connected with in their classrooms?
Yeah, so we continually hear 3 things from teachers, and that we're saving them a lot of time, like literally every day we'll save teachers hours of time every day. The second thing is that students are more engaged in the classroom, and also parents, thirdly, are more engaged in their kids' education. So we even had a story where one of our teachers from New Orleans told us that before using us, only 10 out of 24 of his parents showed up to parent-teacher conferences, And since they started using us, 21 out of 24 showed up. And when he asked why you came, they all held up their phone and they said, Remind 101, Remind 101. And so our product is so simple in that teachers can use the mobile apps or the website, but at the time, students and parents only have to use text message or email to sign up. And so we are operating in some of the lowest income communities in the country, and it's working really, really well.
Now, going along with that, so with crowdfunding, with connecting with students and parents, Remind 101 is this really, really useful tool. And just being able to use that technology to go beyond your school community with crowdfunding, it's just very powerful. So I'd really like to thank you, Walter and Brett and Hannah, for joining us today and watching and participating in the discussion. So if you have any questions for all of us at Remind 101 or for Donors Choose, you can tweet at Remind 101 or to Donors Choose at Donors Choose. So please feel free to share any of your own tips or ideas on our blog, or you can email us at contact@remind101.com, and we'll be sure to post them. All right, so this is Claire Galland signing off for Remind 101. Thanks for joining today.